On today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3, we talk about the simmering dispute between Ohio State and Barstool founder Dave Portnoy, who is a cast member of Fox's Big Noon Kickoff. Who banned who? Did anyone ban anybody? Who really knows? We'll get to the bottom of it, probably, or not. Also, will you be able to watch that? If you have YouTube TV, we'll talk about a potential carriage dispute. Plus, speaking of Dave Portnoy, who helped Bryce Underwood get to Michigan, Bryce Underwood has been officially named the starter at Michigan. True freshman quarterback starting at Michigan. Knew it was going to happen, but still kind of a big deal. Also, which group of 5 teams can beat Power 4 teams in week 1? We'll talk about it. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We will be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you'll get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. And oh my goodness, Ari, we already have the dumbest controversy of week 1, and it's only Tuesday.
I am so cooked, dude. I'm going to make people mad today. I just, you ever get that feeling when you go into a show and you know it's going to be a long day on social media when it's over with? I've got some takes on this, and I'm fired up because, you know, one of the things that I love talking about the most is the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. It's the most interesting thing every year, and it just keeps on giving and giving and giving. So can't wait to get into that. The thing is,
Ohio State plays Texas this week, and yet we're still talking about it because, all right, let's get into it. On Monday night, Front Office Sports reports, well, let's back it up further. Monday afternoon on his show in Columbus, former Buckeyes linebacker Bobby Carpenter, who works with Austin Ward of Letterman Row, they talk about the possibility that Dave Portnoy, who's the founder of Barstool Sports, also an intentionally, I think he would agree that he's intentionally obnoxious, Michigan alum and fun and donor, that he's not allowed in Ohio State Stadium, despite the fact that he's a cast member on Big Noon Kickoff. That is the show with Urban Meyer and Rob Stone and Mark Ingram and Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and Mark. And so that comes out. Later Monday night, Front Office Sports reports that Dave Portnoy has indeed been banned by Ohio State. On Tuesday morning, Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjork says to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo, "Oh, we didn't ban him. Fox decided he wouldn't be in the stadium." And then later, the Big Ten releases a statement to Ross Dellinger saying, "Oh, no, he's not going to be in any stadiums," which I'm sure is what Fox had in mind when they hired him for the show.
Yeah, why don't we just unpack this? Because it's a he said, she said situation. And in
the background of this, by the way, what is happening on College Game Day, which is also emanating from Texas, Ohio State this week? What very special thing is happening on their competition?
Lee Corso is donning headgear for the final time.
Yes, it is Lee Corso's last show. So There's a lot to unpack because it is a he said, for sure. Somebody's not telling the truth. Either Ohio State banned Dave Portnoy, as he claims, or Fox decided to do it themselves, as Ohio State claims. You can Occam's razor that yourself, and I'm sure Ari's about to. But you've also got that it is in Fox's best interest for us to be talking about this a lot right now, because they were going to get slaughtered in the ratings by Corso's last show. They're probably still going to get slaughtered in the ratings by Corso's last show, but at least now there's some intrigue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there would have been some intrigue in general because, you know, if you're going to hire Dave Portnoy as the answer to Pat McAfee, then the reason for that is when he walks in and around stadiums and he acts the way that he does, that's supposed to drive interest. That's supposed to drive. I mean, the trash talking is who he is. So like, I don't understand, you know, the idea that he would not go into the stadiums at all this year. That's kind of a surprising move on my, like, I don't understand why that would be the case. But if I personally was interested in watching Big Noon to see Urban Meyer and Dave Portnoy's dynamic.
Would Urban Meyer punch him live on the air? That was my question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Urban Meyer. Listen, like getting Urban Meyer to remember you is not an easy thing. You know, and I think that I wonder if he even had an opinion about Dave Portnoy before he got hired enough to even be mad about it. I think the dynamic is fun. You've got two different people who represent two schools in a heated rivalry. Like, it doesn't matter who the two people are. That's just interesting television.
Not just a heated rivalry, the heated rivalry, the most important game that Fox televises all year.
So, like, when I hear the Big Ten statement saying that he isn't going to be in any stadium, if that's the case, I'd love to know the rationale behind that, because the point of Dave being on the show.
I can surmise what the rationale, because I don't think Ohio State's the only school that felt this way. Remember, Dave is not just a very active Michigan fan and a very loud Michigan fan. He was instrumental in helping the NIL deal that got Bryce Underwood to Michigan. The one where Larry Ellison kicked in some dough, because Larry Ellison's wife is a rabid Michigan fan. So
what is keeping him out of the stadium do to protect you in that?
Nothing.
Like,
but
I don't, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't understand.
Mad. You're just mad.
So let's go back to the Ohio State aspect of this, because this is how I actually feel. If we go back 6 months or however many months it's been since they played, let's go back a year even, to the beginning of last season when we were doing season breakdowns. You know, I floated the idea to you, you know, with my familiarity with the rivalry and how much, you know, psychology plays a factor in this, that it would not be the most shocking thing in the history of the world if Michigan were in a game with Ohio State, because they handled it poorly mentally. And I echoed that
at you, and you were right, and I was very wrong.
But, you know, and it could have gone the other way. Like, if I was wrong, Ohio State could have won by a lot, and I would have looked stupid. It happens all the time. Being right and wrong isn't what's important here. But my hypothesis is being confirmed right now because, you know, it is unbelievably obvious, even coming off of a national championship, how in Ohio State's head Michigan is. It's like, we're in competition. It is a rivalry. There were flags planted. There were fights had, all these things. But when you win and lose a game, which is part of the reason why we love the sport to begin with, part of being a sports fan is dealing with the consequences of those things, which is, you know, hearing the trash talk and engaging in the fights and the arguments and the, you know, the pandering and all the things that happen. And like, what makes college football great to begin with is that Dave Portnoy can go into Ohio Stadium, wear a Michigan hat, and flip the bird to everybody, because that's what makes competition fun. So, like, I would love to be, if Ohio State did indeed, and my guess would be that they did ban Dave Portnoy and everything else is not the truth.
It's not in Fox's best interest to refute Ohio State on this, so we're never going to get
and we don't know
definitive answer on that.
We don't know definitively what happened. If I had to guess, this is my best guess, would be that Ohio State did ban him. I would have loved to be in the room with whoever came up with that idea and hear the rationale for that idea because
well, you would have raised your hand and been like, do you want to know how this is going to go down if that happens?
Yeah, you know those like 7-minute monologue videos that Dave Portnoy does every time he talks about Ohio State that gets 1 million views and attention? Yeah, you're going to get one of those. And of course that's what happened when we'll show clips.
Maybe get
on the
5
show
of
today.
those. Yeah.
But like my actual opinion, and this is what I think might fire people up, is that Ohio State can't get the rivalry back until they stop getting mentally owned by Michigan at every turn. Like the fact that a Michigan person would not be permitted into the stadium for a game that isn't even being played against Michigan for whatever reason is such a mental gymnastics event that it's like, guys, how much real estate does Michigan own in your head? And like, I wonder if the reason why Ohio State can't win the game right now is because they can't get past whatever mental blockage Michigan has planted in there. And I find this to be a symptom of that. And I don't know who made the final call. Obviously, Ryan Day being the head coach is going to get a lot of pot shots for this. This could be something that has nothing to do with him. I don't know. But man, you got to let it go. You got to pay the consequences for losing, embrace it, use it as motivation, and then try to kick their ass in November. Like that's sports. Like I have no idea. What is the upside if you're pitching this idea? Like, why are you pitching it? And what is the good? But what is the good that you think is going to? Somebody thought there was upside, or
he won't say mean things about us in our stadium. Instead, he'll say mean things about us 100 feet outside our stadium.
And on the internet.
That's it. Those are the positives.
But like, is there a safety issue that people are like? Are they afraid he's going to win
safety? I guess I don't know.
Because the only person whose safety would be at risk would be his, right? If he starts popping off at the wrong person, but he's going to be around security. Like, I don't know, man. I just like sometimes in life, and I tell you this all the time. I feel this every day of my life. I was actually getting Chinese food with my dad in Vegas over the weekend, and he said that he feels like anger in his body every time he goes and stands in a line somewhere. And I'm like, Dad, I love you. That's where it came from. But like, I feel like am I the only one seeing this shit? Because it's like,
no, everybody else sees it except for the Ohio State and the Michigan fans who have their own points of view about it. Because when Ross Bjork's statement came out and the Big Ten statement came out, everybody came after me on Twitter. See, you guys had it all wrong. He wasn't banned. I'm like, it's semantics. And do you think Fox and the Big Ten decided that 2 months ago, or do you think they decided that last night and this morning?
You are certainly more seasoned than I am when it comes to understanding television dynamics. Like the column that you wrote on On3 that you guys should all read on Tuesday about the wrestling thing was awesome. I read it. I enjoyed it. But if the Big Ten statement is true and that Portnoy will not be in any stadiums this year, why do you think that's true? Why is he hired? Like what? Like, because it's like I'm having a hard time. You can't write a column, and I plan to do it when we're done, saying Ohio State's mental impact when thinking about Michigan is negative, and they can't win the game because they own too much real estate in Ohio State's head, unless we know for sure or we feel comfortable saying that Ohio State was the impetus for this. But like, if Ohio State wasn't, that would be a bad column. So like, why is he not in any of the other stadiums either? Like, I think we have to like unpack that first. Because
now you've got to do it this way. And remember, they're not the only school who feels this way. But I guarantee you when they're in a Big 12 stadium, because Big Noon will go to Big 12 games too, Brett Yormark would love to have him in the stadium.
No, let me ask you this though. If Desmond Howard took 10% of his check and donated it to Michigan's NIL fund, would he be banned from stadiums?
Nope.
Because we can make it about, he helped them get Bryce Underwood.
Desmond Howard also doesn't call Ryan Day names. And I think that there is a line there. And even McAfee doesn't cross that line because McAfee has to interview the guys on his show. He has to bring all the coaches on his show. So he doesn't cross that line either. But Dave is a fan. And he does cross that line. Now, what makes that appealing to fans is that he sounds like them and nobody else on TV does. So that's what Fox is going for here.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Ross Bjork said this was a Fox decision. Dave Portnoy put out a video on Tuesday He refutes that.
Rivalry. This is petty. When one team beats your face in for an entire decade, when your arch rival is stomping on your neck and you can't breathe, you do crazy things. They banned me from coming to the state. They banned our show from being on campus. And I feel bad. Fox is in the middle of it. I don't want to create any issue, but then I look in the mirror, it's like, Dave, 20 years you've been doing Barstool. You just tell it how it is. And if this Ross Bjork guy's going to be like, oh, we didn't ban him, even though Bobby Carpenter literally is like, yeah, no, they banned him. And we already had all our travel and all our production booked for this trip, and then suddenly it's canceled.
Now, what he's talking about there is the part of the deal with the Fox Portnoy thing is they have a bigger deal with Barstool where Barstool is going to create a show that's going to be on FS1 in the mornings, but also they're going to bring their college football show with our guy Big Cat and Casey Smith. I think T-Bob's going to be on that show now and Brandon Walker. So they were going to bring that show on the road wherever Big Noon was, and they booked it all out, and then we're told, no, you're not coming. You're not allowed on our campus.
Which is the same thing to me.
I mean, now that's not what Ross Bjork talked to Ross Dellinger about. That was not the issue he was discussing. He was discussing whether Dave Portnoy was allowed in the stadium. So,
I mean, we're talking about
semantics can take you a long way in this deal, and you can believe whatever you want.
We're talking about the game of football, and like I understand, and we're in a position too where we are critical of coaches, and we talk about coaches both positively and negatively at times. There is a respect factor. Like, you would never hear me call somebody a name, right? You would never call somebody a name. So I understand from like a media relations standpoint, like if Ryan Day didn't want to sit down with Dave Portnoy for an interview, like I think that would be different. It's like, I don't respect that person. I don't want to do it is much different.
But you're never going to get the coach on the desk either if he's there. So there's that piece of it too, which they probably didn't think through when they hired him.
Yeah. Because you never know what he's going to say to the coach, and like a coach has to maintain professionalism too, because if Dave Portnoy and Ryan Day are sitting down together and she's calling him crying Ryan and all these different things that he always likes to say, like Ryan Day isn't in a position to tell him to go shove it up his ass, right? Like he has to be
right.
He has to maintain his professionalism.
I would
State's coach.
Be perfectly fine if Ryan Day wanted to respond in kind. Like that wouldn't bother me a bit, but yes, it would probably bother some people.
Here's the thing about Ryan Day that people don't know, and I've seen it. Okay. He is a very mild-mannered, softer temperament person, like when you talk to him.
Compared to your average psychotic college football coach.
Yeah, he's a normal dude who would be pretty high on the go get dinner with him rankings if you're not talking about football. Like, he's a good guy. But, like, I think people have thought as a result of the Michigan game and his temperament as a human being that he isn't very competitive. And I'll tell you right now, I've seen him behind closed doors talking, and it's a lot different than when you see at the microphone. And, like, if you don't think that Ryan Day is bothered or annoyed by this human being here and has his own opinions about Dave Portnoy, you're wrong. He can't address those or express those publicly. So it's kind of like reminds me of what happened like with the Feinbaum show when I got invited on. I got invited on to go debate the mailman from Georgia, and he was calling me names. And like
for Macon.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He's got a name.
Like, me in my position of what I do for a living, I'm not, you turn the camera off. You've heard me speak, Andy. Like I'll tell you how I feel. I'm not in a position to match that energy, and it didn't really make it for an entertaining segment for me because I'm saying facts and he's hurling insults at me. And it's like, I would rather not do that because I can't hurl insults back. So, like, I understand that aspect of it, but at the same time, trash talk is the fundamental basis for what makes being a fan fun. And you might be on the winning end of that, and you might be on the losing end of it. That's why we love the games. That's why we watch them. It's the same thing. And I don't watch wrestling. I don't know anything about wrestling, but I'm assuming that the drama that happens in wrestling is based on who you root for and who wins and loses the matches. So, like, to prohibit or ban a human being that's going to elicit trash talk is unbelievably soft to me. and I've gotten in trouble using the word soft before, and I've been called an Ohio State homer. I am completely and utterly capable and willing to say that banning a personality from your stadium is a soft in your head move. Is that a fair assessment to you?
Yeah. Or even accepting a ban. Like, if Fox came to you and said, hey, we're not going to have Portnoy in here, don't you worry about that. I'd be like, put him in there if you want.
Put him in there if you want.
What do we care?
I mean, they're going to be, from my understanding, to unveil, because in the Ohio Stadium, they have the placards for
signage for the national championship.
Years of the national championships. And I believe in the opener, I could be mistaken, it's been 10 years since I've seen it. They do it at the opener of the following year at home, where they have a ceremony before the game starts, and they it's covered by a towel or whatever, and then they pull the thing down and you display the year you won I would like Portnoy to be standing under that ceremony if I were a competitor. If I were the GM of Ohio State, I would put their frickin' stage right underneath the sign and unveil that thing right over his head. Like, if you like that to me is like what you want. Give it back to him.
Yeah.
Like, don't ban him. Accept the trash talk trash back, and play again. Like, that's
that's what I wrote in the wrestling in my column about how this is pro wrestling, even if the people in charge don't realize it.
Urban Meyer hitting him in the head with the national championship trophy was a fun line.
It'd be hilarious.
I don't want to. I read your column, and I don't want to like take pieces from it and repurpose it. But like, the lead to my story is if I were in charge of Ohio State football, if I were the athletic director, I would put Dave Portnoy in the best vantage point possible. And I know that there's some limitations in where you can put the stage. They usually do it in the north end of the stadium, which is where those signs are. I would put it on the northeast side of the stadium, right underneath that sign, and I would unveil it over his freaking head.
It's amazing.
But that's what a competitor does, right? Like, Andy, do you buy?
You're right. Rub his face in the fact that you are the defending national champions, and they are not anymore, because he was rubbing everybody's face last year in Michigan being the defending national champions.
And if you want to act like if you're an Ohio State fan and you want to act like Michigan's another game now, and national championships are more important than Michigan, which I do believe, national championships are more important than your rival. If you want to do that, then boast your national title at the rival. But do you buy into the notion, because I might write this and I want you're like my editor you're my editor in spirit when we're talking about it, that the overall actions of the university in banning a personality who happens to be a Michigan fan is a symptom of how much Michigan's in their head? Like, do you think those two things correlate?
Yes, and a good example of this is the rivalry, quote unquote, between College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff. So when Dave Portnoy got hired by Fox, Barrett Sports Media was doing an interview with Desmond Howard, who, of course, is one of the stars of College Game Day. And Desmond Howard basically goes, oh, I like those guys, and they try. It's cute that they try. But our real competition is the NBA on TNT, Shaq and Charles Barkley and Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith for the sports Emmy. He's like, I'm sure they do a good job over there at Fox. It is the ultimate disrespect. Like, it is, as I put in the column, that's that Mad Men scene where Don Draper leaves the elevator by going, I don't think of you at all. Like, if somebody's in your head, you think about them all the time. If you're unbothered, if you don't think of them at all, which Ohio State should be in the position of, I don't think of any of you at all. We're so far above you that we don't think of any of you.
Yeah. I don't think of you at all walking off the elevator was like one of the best mic drop things I've ever seen. And like, there is a balance in rivalries though, because I think what made Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer charming in the rivalry was that they thought about them enough in the right ways to make them prepared for it.
Because they were not scared of it. They weren't intimidated by it. They're just like, yeah, we're going to beat these guys.
They had a 15 or 10 minute period in every practice called the Michigan. Like, they thought about them a lot. And I think part of if you went back in time during a time in which we were analyzing this rivalry before they won 4 in a row, there was a certain level of, when Rich Rod was there and, Brady Hoke was there, that there was a certain level of understanding that Michigan didn't take it as seriously as Ohio State, which is part of the reason why Ohio State ran away with the rivalry at that point. So like I don't think of you at all, I think would also be wrong. I think you need to think about them with hatred. Like I think I would want to.
Nick Saban didn't think about anybody at all, and it worked for him.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on, like, Urban Meyer was one of the I look at Urban Meyer as one of the few coaches who did overemphasize rivalries, and it worked. It actually rarely works if you do.
If you go back into Ohio State's history, John Cooper took the "we don't think about them at all, it's just another game" approach, and he got his ass kicked. And then Jim Tressel came in.
But clearly he did think about them because he got his ass kicked by them and by nobody else. Like, Nick Saban didn't get his ass kicked regularly by anybody. And his whole thing was nameless, faceless opponent.
And this is a fun debate. I like it. Like Jim Tressel's number one moment as a human being was when he talked about Michigan in his opening speech at that basketball game. Like in Ohio Stadium, they care how much you think about Michigan. Like that. Like if Ryan Day were to come out and say that's just another game, we're approaching it week by week, he would get absolutely crucified. So like there is a balance, and I don't know like what it would be. But Ohio State also can't say I'm not thinking about you at all, because
this is also why Urban Meyer was the perfect coach for Ohio State when you look back on it, because he was like that at Utah. Like they had the BYU logos in the urinals. He was like that at Florida. Like he did stuff in camp. Like he had a Tennessee day in camp and a Florida State day in camp and a Georgia day in camp.
I don't know if I'm remembering this, but didn't Rich Rod say it was just another game in his opening press conference? Somebody asked him about the rivalry.
I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I don't remember that. So
that's hey guys, take notes. It's the first time Andy doesn't remember something. But it's I don't know. It's an interesting debate, but I also think too that like not thinking about them at all is impossible, but thinking about them this much in the wrong way is the worst of it. Like if you don't think about them at all,
you can't let somebody give you a complex. That's really all there is to it. And
complex is a good word.
Now, Dave Portnoy has built an entire business on stuff like this and turning this sort of thing into content, which he's already done today, which he's going to continue doing. So in a way, this is what Fox hired him for. They're getting that. Now, will it make you watch it?
When you think about your enemy or your quote unquote enemy or the person you're banning, before you institute a policy of doing something, you have to ask yourself, what would my enemy want?
And this is what he would want.
What he would want. I think that you're
yeah, show it Connor Stallion's tweet, please, River. that may be the best, funniest thing that came out of this is Portnoy retweeted a picture of himself in a fake mustache. I think that's fake. Maybe that's real. And then Connor Stallion's replies below it, "You need tickets?
You need tickets?" Because so just so I understand, because I'm not a stoolie. I don't like follow. Like I'm not a historian of remembering. Is that what he wore to get into the Super Bowl? Like when he wasn't allowed in?
I believe so. Because yes, Roger Goodell and company banned the whole Barstool crew from the Super Bowl because they're all a bunch of Patriots fans. They were heavily incensed by the Deflategate thing. They protested it. A couple of them got arrested at NFL headquarters. So, I mean, this is their style. Like, Ohio State is playing right into his hands here. And whether that helps Fox is another question. Because, again, Lee Corso's doing his last head year. I don't know that anybody's going to watch that anyway. I might flip over to it now. We'll see. But I also might not be able to, Ari, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I want to tell you about Academy Sports and Outdoors. Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets SEC fans ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store. Shop online at academy.com to find grills, jerseys, and more. Fun can't lose, and neither can you with tailgate gear from Academy. Academy Sports and Outdoors is the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the SEC. Ari, here's the potential problem for Fox and for those of us who want to watch Texas Ohio State, who want to watch Auburn Baylor on Friday night. Fox is in a carriage dispute with YouTube TV. And we see this every once in a while. Sometimes we see it with the Disney Network. Sometimes we see it with NBC. Sometimes we see it with Paramount. We're now seeing it between Fox and YouTube. So this would affect the Fox broadcast channel. This would affect the Big Ten Network. For our purposes here in the sports world, it would affect Fox News. It would affect those channels. And basically what YouTube TV is saying is Fox is not wanting to have a meaningful dialogue. Fox is saying YouTube TV is undercutting us and is not offering a fair price for our products. And they're going to yell about this to each other until enough people freak out and one side gives in, which usually happens when people start missing football games.
When's the last time one of these carriage disputes actually went through the event?
Sling and ESPN, I can tell you that right now, because we were doing our old show. Sling was an advertiser. The entire pitch was you get all of college football. Like, I had to read an ad saying you get all of college football, and then they missed the weekend.
And it was the first weekend of the season, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
I think it might have been the second or third, but yeah, it was early in the season. And yeah, they missed a weekend. Now, eventually they got it back on, because I think they got it back on before Monday Night Football got missed, before the first ESPN Monday Night Football game for the NFL got missed. But
the YouTube TV always seems to figure it out right in time. So,
well, it's Google. They have a lot of money. So,
yeah. And I also feel like obviously both of these entities are in their best interest to make sure that the games are shown. So, because that would obviously impact the ratings dramatically from Fox's standpoint, and YouTube would have a property that people if YouTube TV doesn't have what I want to watch with sports, I cancel the service. It's that, because
that's the thing. We couldn't do that back in the day. Like, when you had a satellite dish in your yard, or the cable company, it was a massive pain in the ass to cancel anything. Now I cancel it with the click of a button, start a new service immediately, and be like, well, now I'm a customer of yours. So that's where things are a little bit different. The other part about this in particular, obviously, I don't want to miss games on the Big Ten Network either, but for the Auburn-Baylor situation, for the Ohio State-Texas situation, if you have an antenna, you get it for free. It is an over-the-air network.
What do you think the percentage of people listening to our show have an antenna? Do you think it's 0% or 1%?
No, I think it's higher than you think. I think it's interesting, because this is one where the very olds and the very youngs come together. Producer River asked a great question. Could Ari set up an antenna? And my answer is going to be no. He would have to hire somebody.
It's just a little squirt, the little thing that you twist onto the back of the TV, right? And it's got rabbit ears.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty easy. I think it'd be pretty simple.
That's one. I mean, I've done that before, because I grew up in an era where people had those. My childhood bedroom had one. And I remember the way that you turned it, there was a certain level of where you stop for the best picture. You
had the rabbit ears for the VHF channels, and then you had the little round antenna for the UHF channels. So that'd be 14 and above.
That might have been before my time.
Yeah, that was before you were. So that was my first TV.
Does a 50-inch flat screen TV that you would buy at Walmart right now even have the jack on the back for an antenna?
I think they got the jack, and they probably make antennas now that are USB.
Yeah, that's true.
I probably should look for this weekend just in case. But
well, it's not gonna. We're gonna be on an airplane.
We're gonna be out of town, so
yeah. My hope is, but my entire setup is iPad to the left at the football game, four boxer on the left, games on my TV, and then I've got on my laptop, and then I've got my phone set up right here. So I've got 6 going at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but the only reason why I even have YouTube TV is for sports and The Bachelor.
Right.
But you can get The Bachelor on Hulu now. So if they don't have live sports, what am I paying $80 a month for?
Exactly, because now I can buy all of ESPN in one place. I already have Peacock for NBC. I have Paramount for CBS.
And I know that you were roasting Ralph Russo
in our group now too that you can get.
Remember when you were roasting Ralph Russo a month ago for channel surfing? Does anybody channel surf anymore? He said he was channel surfing and landed on something. And you're like, who's channel surfing?
We have some friends. We have some friends who do that. We were at their house and I walked out and he was on the couch and he was pressing the button and he stopped on Comedy Central on an episode of The Office. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you just pick the episode of The Office you want on Peacock?
I don't even know if YouTube TV has the mechanism where you can hit the channel up button and it changes the channel for you.
You can. It does do that, but I don't know if I've ever done it. At least not on purpose.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's the same thing that I have with people. And I think are you a radio person in the car? You listen to the radio.
You mean terrestrial radio?
I'm saying, like, when you're in the car, do you ever listen to XM or broadcast radio stations?
I listened to SiriusXM when I was a SiriusXM employee because sometimes it's nice to have the playlist curated for you. Like sometimes it's fun to go to Alt Nation and just let them play the songs or Lithium, the 90s rock channel, and you don't have to pick them yourself on Spotify. But
I haven't listened to the radio in my entire life.
But I don't anymore. When my free subscription ran out, I stopped.
I don't like the feeling of somebody else controlling what I listen to. I pick the podcast. I pick the ebook. I pick the song I want to hear. Especially now that there's this invention where they have every single song ever recorded on a studio album in your pocket. Like why would you ever? Why am I listening to a song that somebody else chose when I can choose what I want? And I feel that way about television too. So, and I'm sure most people my age feel that way. But my hope is that they'll figure this out. Not before this goes live, so we don't have to re-record this, but certainly before Thursday, right? Like, are any of the games impacted on Thursday, or I don't know?
Well, there are games on Thursday. There game, the big game, the biggest game. I think that is the widest appeal that would be affected first is Baylor Auburn on Friday night. Yeah,
which let's be honest, we need to get that figured out. One last hot take about television channels and broadcast crews.
Yes,
I know
sir.
that there's a lot of people out there that are very opinionated on what channel they would prefer to watch a game on or which crew they would want. Am I the only one who just does not care at all who's calling the game or what channel it's on as long as I can watch it? Like, I am so fascinated by how much people care about that thing.
I don't like having to move from one app to another. That bothers me because I want all of them to be within about a click of a button, or I hit the back button and then I have a window that has all the games that I could possibly watch. So like when there's the random one on Peacock, that bothers me.
But you would never be like, oh God, this game's on ESPN. I wish it was on Fox. Like, I don't care about
it. And the only, and this is the dirty secret because I have a lot of friends who are announcers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the announcers unless they're really bad. If they are for me, there is no distinction between competent and great. I like the great ones. Like, I love when Sean McDonough gets pissy. I think gets sarcastic.
It's really hard to be a color person and a play-by-play guy. And I respect the craft. The thing that has always kind of made me laugh a little bit is that the ones that are great are the ones that are remembered are the ones who have distinctive voices, who call moments that we remember, like Vern Lundquist, for instance. Like, you think about him because you know exactly what his voice sounds like.
They do something for so long that they become soundtrack to it. Like, it's strange to me still now, even though as good as Brad Nessler was when he became the SEC on CBS one, and now he's moved on and they do Big Ten games. Not hearing Vern there felt wrong. Yeah. Now, it doesn't bother me as much when it's like the Fowler and Herb Street crew, because we saw Fowler and Herb Street do really good SEC games before. So that doesn't feel different to your brain.
Yeah. And Fowler and Herb Street are probably going to be like, when they hang it up one day, that'll be weird when they do, because they're synonymous.
It'll be incredibly weird, just like when Keith Jackson wasn't doing it anymore.
Yeah. But Keith Jackson's voice was synonymous with college football in a way that, like, his craft, not that he wasn't great at what he did, but his voice was what we miss. It's not what he said, I think. And I wonder, because Vern, like, without what is the Masters without Vern like? You know, like, there's certain events but in terms of like B-list crew here or there, I don't even know who's calling the games 85% of the time. Like, I don't even know who it is.
I only notice it when it's bad.
Like, Colt McCoy had a bad outing last year, right?
Terrible. Yeah, he did the Nebraska-Iowa game. It was a painful listen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Anyway, but let's hope they figure this out. Yeah.
Let us. Now, maybe you don't want to watch the game on TV. Maybe what do you want to go in person? What is the best way to do that? Well, that would be Gametime. You download the Gametime app, use the code STAPLES for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You click that Gametime app. You say, what game do I want to go to? Oh, I don't know. Let's go see if I can bump into Andy and Ari at Clemson for the LSU Clemson game. Okay. Well, it may cost you a little bit, right? It might cost you over $300, maybe over $400 if you want really good seats, but you can get them. And when you're on that Gametime app, you can see exactly where you'd be sitting, exactly what the view from your seat will look like, and fees are included. So there's not this hidden surprise charge. Like you say, oh, I'm bidding this ticket for $50, and you click it and you find out you're actually paying $85 for it. That's not what's going to happen when you use Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code STAPLES, STAPLES, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, redeem code STAPLES for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, download the Gametime app today. Ari, that Baylor-Auburn game, if we're able to see it, there's a new sponsor for Auburn quarterback Jackson Arnold. You don't know what this is. You haven't seen this yet. I just want your natural reaction to this Jackson Arnold Dude Wipes partnership.
I don't want to go down the road of getting in trouble the last time we talked about Dude Wipes.
Well, listen, part of this is a little bitterness on my part because they advertise on every freaking podcast but ours. But I'm not sure if I'm Jackson Arnold. Like you know me. I'll do ad reads for just about anyone. But if I'm Jackson Arnold, I'm not sure I take this check at this very moment. This feels like it's terribly wrong.
Yeah, anything to do with ass
and poop,
when you're trying
and pooping all over yourself
to the world. Well, the one that popped into my head is when people call somebody ass.
But also, having a bad game, people will say you pooped all over yourself. Now, I guess I could clean it up with Dude Wipes, but you don't want to poop all over yourself in the first place.
Listen, bud, I've got no problem with this. I'm on the Jackson Arnold train, but if there's any chance that train comes off the tracks, you might as well get your dough, man. I'll good for you.
Get money, Jackson. That's the rule, and we're wishing you luck.
They're quite nice. I think that they do need another element, like a dry element to them for when you're done cleaning. But that's is a
called toilet paper.
I know, but like maybe do like a Dude Wipe like multi-pack where you have the wet and the
like
dry
the McDLT back in the 80s at McDonald's with the hot side hot and the cold side cold.
Because if you use the Dude Wipe and then you pull up your pants, then you're left with.
All right, we've given them too much free out. Buy an ad, Dude Wipes.
Yeah, why? Like also, like, are we ever going to get to a point where if we become resentful of a brand for not using us as ad sponsors, that we could just start hating that brand? Or do we always want to leave?
I think we can, and we also can then reach out behind the scenes to their major competitors and be like, we hate these people. Help us put them out of business.
Yeah.
We're not saying we want to do that to Dude Wipes because we still want them to advertise with us, but
yeah, well, I do like them. That's the problem. I do like them. And there's an insane amount of wipes in my house from other brands, though, that we could reach out to because we have a child who needs them constantly. So
there you go. All right. Now, Ari, we also have to talk about this, which is breaking during the show as we're recording this stuff. Okay. And behind the curtain, you were going to go get a haircut. I called you back kind of as a prank with the first story. The second story, though, is legitimate and we have to talk about it. So the first, we're gonna call this new segment the most search engine friendly segment known to man. And we're gonna have this regularly. We're gonna pick topics that everybody in the world is trying to Google right now. So
Donald Trump hand crews?
Well, not that, but Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married. That is the ultimate in search engine optimization. That's the thing everybody's Googling.
That is something. Hey, congrats to them. I'm always, in favor of being around and in the presence of true love. And I do think it is pretty awesome that they were incessantly accused at the beginning of their relationship of doing a media grab or a publicity stunt. And this actually turned out to them becoming a married couple. I also, and I don't know if this hits you to make this college football centric, but do you ever, like, how often do you go back and see like old pictures of players in their college uniform or old pictures of their recruiting profile and remember writing and talking to those people when they were 16 or 17 as recruits? And it does, like, to me, I think that of all the athletes that I have called on the phone on a Wednesday night at 9 or 8 p.m. to do a recruiting profile or story on, turning into a nationally or globally famous person, like the ascension of Travis Kelce from tight end at Cincinnati to who he is today is probably the most dramatic shift in 3-star recruit turns into global icon that we'll ever come up with, right? Like, this is like peak fame for an athlete.
100%. He's marrying maybe the most famous person on earth, or at least the most famous entertainer on earth.
And does this make him the most famous athlete on earth now, or is LeBron still ahead of him?
I think LeBron's still ahead of him, but he's up there. I mean, he's in the top 5, I would imagine. When he was a freshman and they were using him as a wildcat quarterback at Cincinnati. Yeah, not what you would have imagined.
Because think about all the players that we talk to and about, and then they become NFL stars. Like, I was just remembering, like, I talked to Jackson Dart on the phone 4 years ago about how his recruitment was blowing up because he was a late holdout as a quarterback commitment, and USC wanted him late, and all these different things came about. And like, now he's going to start games for the Giants this year. And it's like, it happens like that, right? Like, this one is the one that hit me the hardest, and it's pretty cool to see. So I'm not a person who really cares about celebrity gossip. You know this about me if you listen to the show. Celebrity marrying celebrity doesn't really move the needle for me, but like, my wife texted me about this. Like, even she's locked into this. So this is, I know it's a significant thing, and I'm happy that there is some sort of pop culture reference to sports and college football specifically in this specific story, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, Clark Williams from the Big 12 tweeted this out. Game note: the Big 12 Conference is the only Power 4 league to have a student-athlete alum currently engaged to Taylor Swift. That is true. But there is another coach in the Big 12 who's also search engine friendly, Ari. He's the one everybody searches for. Coach Prime. And we got news out of Coach Prime today. Coach Prime named a starting quarterback.
How are you feeling about your 2 quarterbacks, Kaidon Salter, Julian Lewis?
Feeling darn good about them. We got 2 guys that are capable of getting the job done. Kaidon Salter's going to start. You guys knew that. I don't know why you played a play like he was going to start. The kid has a ton of experience, dual threat. He can throw the heck out of the ball as well. He's the guy. He's the guy at this point. We're praying and we're hoping that you see some juju periodically through the game as well. We would like to get him some reps as well, but the game predicates that.
So Kaidon Salter will start against Georgia Tech on Thursday. Very interesting Thursday game. Colorado against Georgia Tech. Juju is Julian Lewis, the freshman quarterback, who we also saw at Big 12 Media Days. And as Coach Prime says, he would like to play him some, but this is Georgia Tech. This is obviously not a pushover opponent. The game would have to dictate him getting a chance to play.
I don't know why the media ran in their heads that Kaidon wasn't going to start. I don't know where you guys came up with. I don't know. You brought him to Big 12 Media Day and never mentioned
he brought Lewis.
Both
yeah,
would play at Media Day. Maybe that's part of the reason why we thought there was a chance that somebody else would start.
Oh, Friday game, not Thursday. Friday game. Bad, Andy. Cincinnati. I got the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce engagement in my head. Yeah. Cincinnati, Nebraska is Thursday.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, Colorado is Friday.
Yeah, I think this was what we were all expecting. Dion's right. There was some intrigue to it because of the mixed signals that were coming from Colorado at times. But, you don't bring him in, and I think it's functional. You don't bring Salter in if he's not going to play, right? And I don't know that he goes there if he's not going to play. I know the timeline of it made it kind of murky, but, Colorado, I think, is one of the more intriguing teams. I'm very excited to see, if it starts looking like a functional program without siblings and direct lineage from Dion, on the team. And let's go. Kaidon Salter was very productive at Liberty 2 years ago, and wasn't really himself a year ago at times. But it's going to be a good time. I'm excited.
So Prime got asked about why he picked Salter and what Salter did, and here's what he said.
Hey, I guess you're choosing experience over kind of the young kid. What did you like about Kaidon? What did he show you throughout camp that you really just appreciated?
He's done it before. This is not his first time running out the tunnel and getting the start. He's done it before, and his experience is vital. We don't tend to seem like a young team. We have a ton of experience on the offense and defensive side of the ball, especially the coaching staff as well. But I like what he's been doing in camp. I like what he did in the spring, and he's growing and growing and growing. Pat is doing a wonderful job with him. I'm not losing my thought. I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. He's going to do well. He's going to do well. And Byron Leftwich has brought a lot to the table when he's available and he's able to come in working with him. So I defer to those two coaches to allow me to understand what I see as valid.
So Pat Shurmur's their offensive coordinator, obviously spent a lot of time in the NFL. He works with the quarterbacks, but they also, as Dion noted, bring in Byron Leftwich, who has also been an NFL offensive coordinator, to help out. So this is, a lot of brain power working with a guy who has had a lot of snaps at the FBS level. And I think that's the thing you think about is just the sheer level of experience for Kaidon Salter. I mean, he's led a team to an undefeated season. He took Liberty to the Fiesta Bowl where they played Oregon. They were obviously very overmatched against Oregon, but Salter was awesome that year. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, he was. Colorado is also a place where somebody who plays the way that he played 2 years ago gets very famous. So it was a good place for him to go. And I know we remember the jokes about how he doesn't live in Boulder and only Julian can afford to live in Boulder and stuff. If he plays the way that I think he can play, and Colorado is a similar, capably situated team as it was a year ago, like he's going to become a star in the sport. So I can't wait to go.
What's the circumstance you think where we would get to see some Julian Lewis on Friday against Georgia Tech? Is it game is out of hand one way or the other? Or do you think they might put Julian Lewis in a competitive game just to see what they got?
I think that based on what we just saw here, that, Salter's the guy, and it would take them either being blown out or blowing their opponent
blowing them out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know as the year goes on if we'll start to see packages, but this is a 4-point spread in a game that's important to both teams. And I think you run with your quarterback, your QB1 in that game. That's my anticipation, but with Dion, you never know.
Now, Colorado different this year than the first 2 years under Dion, where first years was wholesale transfer portal, tons of changes in terms of year to year. This year, they've got guys that have played for them that you're going to be familiar with. Their entire defensive line is returning players. Now, they may have transferred from somewhere else before, but they were at Colorado last year. Most of their secondary guys that have been at Colorado. Their offensive line now, it is pretty transfer heavy. Obviously, Jordan Seaton is a returning starter who signed with Colorado out of high school, but the rest of the line are guys that transferred in. Because remember, like their center was going to be there, and he transferred out and went to Texas Tech after spring.
Yeah. Andy, fired up, dude. Fired up.
Oh, I know. I am too. This is and the thing is, we knew when Kaidon Salter went to Colorado that part of it, because you lose Shedeur Sanders, you lose a very experienced quarterback who set records for you. Kaidon Salter is not going to be intimidated by playing against these teams. It's not going to bother him. He originally signed with Tennessee, wound up at Liberty. I don't think he's going to be intimidated one bit by the level of competition he's going to see either from Georgia Tech on Friday night or in the Big 12. So that is exciting. And I really want to see what this program looks like now that Travis Hunter's gone, now that Shedeur Sanders is gone, because I did think it got better for much of the tail end of last season. And the coaches did a good job because we were worried after year one and Dion overhauled his staff. is this going to work? Is he going to want to be here for the long haul? Clearly, he wants to be there for the long haul. Given what he's faced with his own personal health crisis, the fact that he's still coaching, obviously he wants to be there.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of what's he going to make out of this program. So that is an absolute game to watch. Friday night, Colorado, Georgia Tech. Other games that probably will not be as exciting as the one we're going to be at, but will be really interesting. Here's one, and I'm sure Dave Portnoy will be watching closely. New Mexico, Michigan. Listen, we knew that Bryce Underwood was probably going to be the starter. But on Monday, they officially announced it, which I don't know. You tell me, did you think they were actually going to officially announce it? Or did you think they were just going to let it go and he was going to run out there first? I thought it was going to be he just runs out there first.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really given much thought on will an announcement come or who's it going to be. Like I've been operating under the assumption that he was going to be the starter for months. So yeah. It's cool.
Basically, when Mikey Keene got hurt and he had to take all the snaps with the ones in spring practice, and they realized, okay, he gives us our best chance to win, so we're just rolling with him. We knew he was going to be the starter.
Do you think there's a correlation between announcing it publicly and confidence or announcing it publicly and team functionality? Or do you think that those are just media contrived talking points?
I think it's media contrived because, listen, every team knows who the guy is going into, well, not every team. You always talk about the 2015 Ohio State team, but most teams going into the week of the game know exactly what's going to happen, whether that's going to be this guy's the starter, he's taking all the snaps with the ones, or if two guys split snaps with the ones in practice. The players all know this. So whether they announce it to us or not is really irrelevant. But this is one where I do think it is showing confidence in the guy, but also, think about this, Ari, because we're now in this different world where, like, I'll go back to, this is something that's been an NFL debate this preseason, the Anthony Richardson thing with the Colts, where the Daniel Jones gets picked as a starter, and you have this all revisionist history. You have the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, has said, since the end of last year, like, oh, I shouldn't have played him right away. But like they drafted him 4th overall a couple of years ago. And when they did that, it was like, okay, we got to play him because we drafted him 4th overall. Did you have to play Bryce Underwood because you gave him this record-setting NIL deal? You flipped him away from LSU? Because Bryce Underwood, if he were in Baton Rouge right now, would be backing up Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah. My understanding or my hope would be, and I think part of the reason why, in the NFL, there's a correlation between like money spent and all that is also, too, if you don't think that he is good enough to play, then why is he warranting the 4th overall pick, or why is he warranting a record NIL deal? And that's I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this. I've never coached quarterbacks before. I push back, or I think it's a weird thing to be afraid to break somebody. I think experience is the most important thing, even if it's a bad experience. And like for me, freshman quarterbacks of that size and experience levels are probably more than capable of playing against New Mexico.
Right. You're not worried about Bryce Underwood being physically fragile. He's a grown ass man, even at a very young age.
Like at the beginning of college football seasons, we kick off the football season by playing high leverage, high level high school games on ESPN. Mm-hmm. Like there was one.
There was Modern Day against St. Thomas Aquinas, I believe, the other day.
Yeah, right. Like it's always like powerhouse versus powerhouse. If a high school person, like a quarterback, plays for Mater Day and he's playing St. Thomas Aquinas, and I mean this respectfully, and St. Thomas Aquinas has 7 players on their team that are 4 stars or better, would you say that the competition in terms of speed and athleticism is higher on that field than it would be for Michigan playing New Mexico?
Or as high, yeah. Because the New Mexico players are older and more mature, so that helps them.
Mature, right? Which
I would say you're not being disrespectful at all. It is something that somebody in that situation, it would not feel that different in terms of speed and size and strength.
Yeah, I mean, if you played IMG, then you can play against Mexico, in my opinion. I think that the money will play a factor in this. And I do think that a coach ultimately has to win. And we've had this argument on the show before. But I also don't look at a game that has a 35-point spread and wonder, well, oh, God, the thing's going to be bad for this. I think Michigan will win by more than 35.
You're dropping him into a situation. We had this conversation last year, you and I, before you came on the show, because you didn't debut until after this game had ended. But you and I privately had the conversation about should Florida play DJ Lagway not in spots against Miami, but should just start him? And I believe I said no, because you don't want to break him, because what if you can't protect him? But this is a different situation than that. Now, Bryce Underwood has to go play at Oklahoma in week 2.
Yeah, and I think this is I would much rather him play this game first. Let him get his sea legs, get a win under his belt, get some confidence, then go out and go play Oklahoma on the road. A game that I think they will lose. I think they will cover this and they will lose the next week.
So you think they cover the 34.5 points? For 34.5 is so many points. I don't care who you're playing.
I think Michigan will try to run this game up. We didn't pick this officially, but if I were to pick it, I would lay the points.
Yeah. But this one, by the way, is on NBC and Peacock.
I hope that if you are out there, have we had a major bust yet from a person who received a big NIL deal? And I know that we're still in the infancy of this existing, that just couldn't play at all.
Did Malachi Nelson? I don't think he got a huge deal at USC.
Yeah, but he would have
that being a massive deal. Now he's going to start at UTEP this year, but he didn't win the job at USC. He didn't win the job at Boise State. So now he's at UTEP where he did win the job. But no, I can't remember somebody getting the massive deal. Like Jaden Rashada had the deal at Florida, but then that was rescinded, and he didn't get a big deal at Arizona State.
And I wonder too if Jaden Rashada's deal would have just gone through, if Florida would have put him in a position to at least have been serviceable. I don't know if he just can't play or what the deal is.
Well, they would have thrown that type, and it's interesting because we would have had this conversation 2 years ago, and he would have been thrown in, and he would have gotten broken.
Yeah. But
Florida have a new coach right now. I can tell you, if all of that had gone through as written in that contract, Florida have a new coach right now.
Yeah. I probably am more willing to buy that you can break a person's spirit through an NIL deal gone sour and then being on 4 different rosters.
But with Rashada, I don't think it would have been broken because he would have someday been good and wouldn't be good because you did that. He probably wasn't ever going to be good enough.
Well, it's easy to say that now, but if you put somebody in a functional situation, you pay them what you promised them, you bring them along with coaching, you put really good players around them. I don't know that if putting him out there would have been an absolute disaster either, the way it would be if you put him in there now, right?
He would have had to open against Utah. It would have been rough. Bryce Underwood's in a much better situation with this because he's going to be protected by a good offensive line. They've got a good running game. The defense is going to make sure they get the ball in fairly advantageous positions. This is about as good as it gets if you're a true freshman starting quarterback.
And maybe I'm giving Florida too much credit here, but maybe the deal didn't go through because Florida knew he couldn't play. There's also part of that.
I think it's definitely a part of that. I don't think anybody was ever denying that.
Yeah. So if the deal,
I very much think at some point somebody looked at something and goes, "We're going to pay how much for what?"
Yeah, we're going to do what for what now? Yeah, I think that the fact that Michigan brought him in the circumstances in which they did. Considering too the pedigree of that university in terms of evaluation and development, that they probably have their head on straight. So, and size is a huge deal. I stood next to Jaden Rashada at the Elite 11, and I was a bigger dude than him. Granted, I had a lot more pounds back then, but he wasn't. There are certain level freaks, and I think Bryce Underwood is more freakish than Jaden Rashada would be.
You don't walk up to Bryce Underwood and think, "Oh, I hope you can make it through the game." I do wonder. "Oh, he's fine."
I do wonder if there will be a DJU-ish type prospect who is huge, who commands because he was a 5-star prospect because of his measurable and developmental aspects that will garner a Bryce Underwood like deal and will turn out to not be good.
100% it'll happen. It's guaranteed to happen, Ari.
If you go down the list of quarterbacks that have gotten a big deal, Like you think of Bryce, you think of Nico. Who am I forgetting? Who else got big deals? DJ got a big deal. All the ones that are high profile enough to write about before they ever play a snap in college have at least been serviceable. I don't think anybody's been terrible or lost their job or it's been just a sunken.
Nico was a very above average college quarterback last year.
Yeah.
Helped his team
I don't know
the
what they got paid for. His team made the playoff. Maybe they did get what they paid for. But he never reached the level of stardom that his $8 million deal at the beginning of his term promised. And his career's not over yet. We'll see what happens at UCLA. But there hasn't been an absolute dumpster fire yet either.
But there will be. I don't think it's going to be Bryce Underwood, but there will be one at some point down the road.
And Bryce Underwood took the job. Didn't Bryce Underwood take the job once he had to play when Mikey Keene got injured and everyone was like, holy shit, this guy has to play?
Yeah, because I think if Sharon Moore thought Bryce Underwood needed more time, they would have tried to make sure they got Keene ready. They went out and got Jake Garcia, who's been in a bunch of different places. They would have done something else if they thought he wasn't ready.
Yeah, I've
been operating since spring practices if he's ready.
If you're a Michigan fan, you probably feel pretty good about the circumstances in which he is starting as a true freshman. It feels less forced. It feels more like he forced them by being good. So, and that's why I took him in the quarterback fantasy draft, which may or may not be a mistake. We'll see.
We'll find out. We got to talk about Group of 5 teams that can beat Power 4 opponents in Week 1. But let's also talk about something happening on Sunday that is very, very exciting. For those of us who love college football, the fall begins the moment toe meets leather, even if it's still 90 degrees outside. For coffee lovers, fall begins the moment pumpkin returns at Starbucks. So consider this your early autumnal equinox. This week you've got football and you've got pumpkin season at Starbucks. You can grab your pumpkin cream cold brew on the way to the tailgate. Specifically, if you're in South Florida, August 31st, the day that Miami takes on Notre Dame, stop by the Starbucks Coffee Kickoff at the Starbucks on Northwest 27th Avenue. You can meet Devin Hester, former Kane greatest return man in the history of the game. You can meet JD Piquel, super handsome guy from On3, Ivy Leaguer, and you can get your pumpkin cream cold brew. Don't care what the calendar says. I don't care what the thermometer says. Grab your favorite Starbucks pumpkin beverage because it's fall, baby. It's football season. It's pumpkin season. Grab your favorite Starbucks pumpkin beverage, hot or iced, and settle in for the greatest college football season ever. All right, Ari, you got your BetMGM hat on. We're going to go through some BetMGM lines here.
You want to talk about the ultimate hack, by the way? Great hat. BetMGM sent me some swag. Did you get yours in the mail? I got a t-shirt.
I did get my swag. I've got my hat right here.
When your lettuce looks like this, and you're going to get, I'm getting lined up. And our boss said he thinks it looks great. So, Luke, take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Because I tried to get on the show, because we're not supposed to wear hats on the show because we want to keep it professional. I like that. But I have I
wonder if Dave Portnoy will wear a hat on the Big Noon show. Guess we'll find out. Will he wear this Block M hat?
Maybe. I would. I mean, what are you hiding from the shtick? But I have a lineup in beard trim this afternoon. And I just said, hey, can I wear my BetMGM hat?
Because anybody who put the hat back on.
And for anybody who's been watching the show for a long period of time knows I used to be a hat every episode guy. So the fact that I have this cool snapback hat that BetMGM sent, it got me out of jail today with the hair before I get my haircut while also wearing a sponsored hat, which is, I got to say, of all the casino logos too, the MGM logo is the most iconic in my mind. The first hotel I ever stayed at in Vegas in my entire life was the MGM Grand. With the way that green lights up at night, it's something of pure beauty.
Synergy, baby.
But I have some BetMGM bets in too, Andy, especially on this game that you're about to bring up. So let's get into it.
Ooh, wait, which game? We're bringing up several games here, so I'm curious which one this is.
I have Southern Miss winning. I don't have them winning outright, but I have them in the points for quite a lot of shekels this weekend.
Southern Miss at Mississippi State. This is one of those. It's a real no-win situation for Mississippi State as they go to Hattiesburg. This is plus 13.5. Southern Miss is a home underdog. Southern Miss is in a very interesting situation. So Southern Miss was the last place team in the Sun Belt last year. They fired Will Hall as their coach. they hired Charles Huff. Now, Charles Huff was at Marshall. He got sideways with the Marshall administration before last season even started. It was clear that that was going to be his last year at Marshall. Well, he goes ahead and wins the Sun Belt at Marshall, knowing that they're probably not going to bring him back. He ends up leaving Marshall for the team that was last in the same league that he won. But this is the era of player movement. And so a whole bunch of Marshall's roster landed in Hattiesburg, where now you have a team with a bunch of guys who won the league last year playing for the team that was the last place team in the league last year. Now, this doesn't mean anything to Mississippi State, which plays in the SEC, but what it does mean is this game is now significantly harder than it was when Mississippi State scheduled it.
We had Colin Wilson from the Action Network on the show, and he said that the Southern Miss league title bet, I think it was like 30-1, was a pretty. I got it. I did it. So we're on.
It was 36-1 when Colin came on.
So we hit that. I love that this game is on the road too. Like, and the spread at some places has dropped. So I got 14. It's 13.5 at BetMGM, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. Southern Miss should be pretty good this year, no?
They should be for the Sun Belt. The question is, can they compete with Mississippi State? Mississippi State had a tough year last year. Blake Shapen, who was the quarterback that they brought in from Baylor, Jeff Lebby brought him in, was the guy that he thought could run his offense best. Blake got hurt, so they played a lot with Michael Van Buren, who's now the backup at LSU. But they didn't quit, even though it was a very hard year. They went 0-8 in the SEC, but you never got the sense that Jeff Lebby lost that team. This year, obviously, another heavily revamped roster, lots of transfers. I'm very excited about Fluff Bothwell. Fluff Bothwell was the leading rusher at South Alabama last year. He's going to be in the tailback rotation at Mississippi State. I just like saying Fluff Bothwell. Mississippi State should win this game. That said, this is going to be a very tough cover, I think, because this is going to be a huge game in Hattiesburg. There's going to be a lot of people saying Southern Miss to the top. And obviously Charles Huff and a bunch of guys who came from Huntington, West Virginia, kind of know what they're doing together a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This one would be my pick. Well, actually, there's another one. Let's go to the other two. There's two more. There's one that I was definitely afraid of. Can you want to guess which one I'm talking about?
I think I do. I think we're talking about Toledo, Kentucky.
We are, because the other one, the Group of 5 team, is favored, I think.
The Group of 5 team is definitely favored the other one. We'll get to that in a second because they have a very interesting schedule. But Toledo, Kentucky, BetMGM and the other books understand what's going on here. Typically, if a MAC team goes to play at an SEC team, you're talking about a 3-touchdown line. Kentucky's only a 7.5-point favorite here. They just officially named Zach Calzada the starting quarterback at Kentucky. So for those who are keeping track of this, was somebody at TexAgs, by the way, yesterday already put out a list of all the former Jimbo Fisher Texas A&M quarterbacks who are starting everywhere else in college football or playing everywhere else in college football. It is extensive. And Zach Calzada is one of those. So Zach Calzada.
I can only think of two. Who are the other ones?
Well, let me give you Zach Calzada's travel log while I vamp and look up this Jimbo Diaspora tweet. But
I actually can think of three. Go ahead.
All right. So Zach Calzada started out at Texas A&M. Remember, he was the starting quarterback when they beat Alabama at Kyle Field. He then went to Auburn, where he was injured, never really played. That was the Brian Harsin era. He then went to Incarnate Word, which is where Cam Ward started, where, they fling it around. It's in San Antonio. Had a really good time there, and now he is at Kentucky as the starting quarterback. So your Jimbo quarterbacks, and they're like, one did not originally start out with Jimbo, but the other ones did. So Zach Calzada is Kentucky's quarterback, of course. Haynes King is Georgia Tech's starting quarterback. Max Johnson originally started at LSU, but then did transfer to Texas A&M under Jimbo. He's now at North Carolina. He broke his leg last year. He's the backup at North Carolina right now. Connor Wegman is the starting quarterback at Houston, and Jalen Henderson was at West Virginia.
I wouldn't have gotten Henderson, but I knew the other ones.
Yeah, Connor Wegman is your starting quarterback for Houston. But so anywho, Zach Calzada, your starting quarterback at Kentucky, feels like more of a run the damn ball offense than we've seen. Bush Hamden is the offensive coordinator. Remember, Bush was at Boise State with Taylon Green, and then Boise State wins the league. Bush gets hired away by Kentucky. It was supposed to work out with Brock Vandegrift last year, but it did not. And so they're kind of starting over there.
Yeah. Kentucky, I think I read a stat that in 22 of the last 24 years, a MAC team has beaten at least one Big Ten team. I know this isn't a Big Ten team, but Kentucky is kind of like in that danger zone where they're playing one of the most consistent, tough teams in the MAC, and they're not expected to be very good.
Well, and remember, Toledo went to Starkville and beat Mississippi State last year.
Toledo is consistently good. Jason Candle's a hell of a coach. I would be shivering a little bit having to open with this, especially with the whole motivated Mark Stoops thing. Kentucky, I think, is probably in for a tough year. You don't want to start at home with a loss to Kentucky. I mean, with Toledo, sorry.
Tucker Gleason is a Maction quarterback name if ever there was one.
Yes.
Tucker Gleason started his career at Georgia Tech, was Toledo's starter last year. Ari, another familiar name for Kentucky fans and for pretty much everybody else. Do you know who Toledo's starting tailback is this year?
Yes. Chip Trianum.
And he started where?
Arizona State.
And then?
Ohio State.
And then?
Did he go somewhere between Ohio State and
Kentucky.
Toledo? He did? I didn't.
Yeah.
I missed that spot. Yeah. Wait, was that just a spring thing, or did he wasn't on a team? He didn't play for them.
No, he was at Kentucky last year.
He was?
Yeah.
I missed that whole thing, or I just don't remember. It's really hard.
It didn't work out, I don't think, the way anybody wanted it to. So
yeah. But he was he played a little linebacker at Ohio State too. He's a pretty jacked, athletic kid. I don't know if that's going to be enough to win a game, but it's a familiar name.
Yeah. In 2024, Kentucky, 19 carries for 101 yards. So
yeah, that didn't work out.
So
and maybe that's part of the reason why I missed it.
This is the deal. This is a scary game for Kentucky. Jason Candle does a great job at Toledo. Jason Candle has coached Toledo in a bunch of these games. The one thing that's interesting about Toledo over its MAC rivals is they've managed to keep good players on their team for longer. You heard Nick Saban last year talking about them trying to get Quinion Mitchell to transfer to Alabama from Toledo a few years ago. And he stayed at Toledo and ended up becoming a first-round draft pick. So I bumped into Jason Candle at the Senior Bowl, and I said, how do you do this? And he said, he says, obviously you try with the NIL to make a competitive offer when you have a really good player, but also you got to make it a place where people want to play and where people feel like they're kind of bought in and part of a team concept. And he's done a great job of that.
And Toledo's actually the only MAC town that's actually in a city. Not a very big city, but it's a city, right? So I don't know if that helps, but
I think the blueprint for Toledo is a lower level version of Mark Stoops' blueprint for Kentucky, which has worked. Like, let's not pretend that they haven't had success under Mark Stoops. They've been highly successful for Kentucky. It's just that now it feels like it's taken a turn. And I don't know, did the wheels just fall off last season? Or was that a shift down to what they're going to be from now on? I think that's the question Kentucky's got to answer this year, because they're much better than they were last season historically under Mark Stoops.
And the question you have to answer too is the wheels falling off the impetus of getting you back to where people think you should be. Like, it's not, I don't think that those are completely separate. Sometimes wheels fall off means the program's wheels are falling off, not a season's or a team's. So we'll see.
Right. So, and
we'll see
I think I am curious, because you had two things, because it would be easy to say that was just that team. But because you had Mark Stoops trying to get the A&M job, almost getting it, the board revolting, and then him winding him back at Kentucky, I do think that adds a layer to it that we have to consider. So we'll find out. I mean, the season will play out and we'll know, but this is definitely a game to watch. Now, one more. This is Group of 5 over Power 4. The most likely, because this is the one where the Group of 5 team is favored. Northwestern heads to Tulane. Now, Tulane is the one we think because of their schedule, because of the league they play in, and because of the quarterback they just got, we think there's a really good chance they could be the Group of 5 representative in the playoff if things go right for them. But the schedule is what I want to talk about because I find it very interesting. And obviously this all happened. I think the schedule was probably made back when Troy Dannon, who's now the Nebraska AD, was the AD there. So you got Northwestern coming to New Orleans, which is great because it's a Power 4 team that you can definitely beat, that you get at home. And then in week 3, they've got Duke coming to New Orleans. Now, that's going to be weird because Darian Mensah was Tulane's quarterback last year and Duke swiped him. Duke is a good power conference team. Don't get it twisted. This is not your dad's Duke. Manny Diaz has a good team. And then they have to go to Oxford the following week to play at Ole Miss. So if Tulane goes 2-1 in that stretch and wins the American, Ari, I think there's a really good chance that they are the team in the playoff.
2-1 gets them there. And I think it would help if they were competitive in the Ole Miss game.
It would. But this Northwestern game will be interesting because it's our first look at Retzlaff as Tulane's starter. We're assuming he's Tulane's starter. So this was a weird situation. Originally, Tulane had planned for TJ Finley to be the starter. You're talking about quarterbacks who've been all over the freaking world. TJ Finley went LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, Tulane. He had a legal issue. He was kicked off the team. So they go and they get Jake Retzlaff, who had the accusation in court that was then dropped, but he was going to be suspended for breaking the honor code at BYU, so he left.
Yeah, they're going to win. I think they're going to win. They're laying 6. You never know. I mean, Northwestern has historically punched above its weight, but I'm really on guard for the Tulane Duke game. I think that's going to be more entertaining. But I think that
another familiar name though for Northwestern. You know who their starting quarterback's going to be?
Who's their starting quarterback?
Preston Stone.
Oh yeah, I'm an idiot.
Late of SMU.
Andy, I helped break that story.
I know you did. I know you broke his transfer to Northwestern, and you forgot he's there.
We're an hour and 10 in. Forgive me. That is. I thought that Preston Stone was going to be I wrote a huge profile on him when he was in high school about going to SMU to begin with and how big of a deal that was. And I thought his plan was always to go SMU for a few years and then to go to transfer up to a P5. P4
Kevin
team.
Jennings was not part of the plan, and neither was SMU becoming a power conference school.
Yeah. It kind of worked out that way. He got to transfer to a power school. I just thought it would be Oklahoma or Texas. But it's you're talking about somebody who threw for more than 3,000 yards in his final full years in a starter. So it's not like he doesn't have any experience. So it'll be very interesting to see him play at Northwestern and what they might have around him. But I still like Tulane in this game.
I do too, and this is the one I feel very confident in. Obviously, we'll see if we get any of the upsets. I do think Southern Miss covering against Mississippi State feels like a safer proposition. I don't think I would predict them to win outright, but the Toledo Kentucky game I'm fascinated by. I am going to watch that. I will be able to get that on my TV. I'll be able to get that on my phone wherever we are. We'll see what happens with the Fox YouTube TV thing. We will follow that obviously throughout the week. We got a lot of fun coming up. Brett McMurphy from On3 joins us on Wednesday to talk about all the news stories that he is following. Tyler Shoemaker of the Tyler Shoemaker Index will help you find your best bets on Thursday. And of course, we'll be taking your questions on Thursday. Dear Andy and dear Ari, hit us up with those questions at Andy, at Andy_Staples on social media, at Ari Wasserman on social media, Andy Staples on 3 at gmail.com, Ari.Wasserman at on3.com. Send us those questions. We will answer them on Thursday. Also, if you're not subscribing to On3, what are we even doing here? Let's go. Get your first week for $1 and also get a year's access to The Athletic. So you get all of the benefits of On3, which, by the way, it's about to get even better. We got something coming later this week. Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
We both did that at the same time.
Subscribe to On3, $1 for your first week, full year of access to The Athletic. Get with your favorite team site. If you're a Kentucky fan, Kentucky Sports Radio. If you're a Tennessee fan, VolQuest. If you're a Michigan fan, the Wolverine. Ohio State fan, Letterman Row. We got it all, baby. You got it all. Here. Come back tomorrow. Do it again.